crucial political year because we had elections and we had to choose our leadership as a country, right from the grassroots to the head of state or the president. And it is happening again next year, 2026, but the year before is usually preparation year. So today we want to understand how far we are. Are we ready? Do we have ready leaders? Do we have people who are going to actually go to office and represent us? As a Ugandan, what do you want? What do you expect your leaders to do? Why did you choose the party that you chose? These are the questions that we're going to be asking our guests today. First of all, some of our guests are aspirants. Why did they choose the parties that they are in? They're going to tell us. Because we just can't do things. We can't continue to be a Uganda that does things just for we wake up and we elect somebody and we do not know if this person is going to deliver. So if you're going to office, what is expected of you? You know? So much as we have not begun anything, there are silent campaigns going around. There are people who are already campaigning, even when the Electoral Commission has not come out to say it is okay. Now people can start to campaign. Have they registered anyway? What does it take to register? Those are the things we're going to discuss, and we hope that you also can send us your views. We are on social media at Church of Uganda Family TV. We do have a Facebook page, an Instagram page, a YouTube page, LinkedIn, and Twitter especially, where you can go and leave your comment. And guess what? We shall be getting, you know, first of all, answering your questions in the hour because the show ends at 10 a.m. and also getting into it. So you'll get a reply, definitely. We are going to get into it. My name is Carol Norman Tumwine. In case I should introduce myself for courtesy to my guests. Gentlemen, you are most welcome. Engineer Ian Chaine from NRM, you're most welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Faizo Mzee from the UPC, you are welcome. And I'll start with you to say hi to our viewers and we go on.
Thank you so much. My name is Mzee Faizo. I am the head of Media and Communications of the Uganda People's Congress.
Okay.
I want to bring you greetings from the President of the Uganda People's Congress, the Honorable James Meko Akena Obote,
Okay.
and also from the entire membership of the Uganda People's Congress. I want to say Happy New Year, and we're always humbled for calling us as Uganda People's Congress because here at family, we are at home. You have already considered us to come and discuss about issues that takes our country ahead,
Yes.
the matters of national importance. And being a family TV church, a church TV, you also have a big contribution you make, and we really appreciate as Uganda People's Congress, and we're hoping for the fruitful deliberations here.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chaine, kindly your opening remarks and as you say hi to our viewers.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful that I have another opportunity to meet you this year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year
and the
to you.
entire crew and the people behind this very important television. Of course, I want to send my New Year message to the Archbishop and the Assistant Bishop, because those are the people who nurture me in that area.
Wow.
Together with the Provost of All Saints Cathedral and the fellow parishioners and the pew members.
Wow.
Of my pew.
Okay.
Of course, to the entire family of Ugandans, in particular the President of Uganda and his family, because we must always put them in prayer. Otherwise, they are in charge of a very big responsibility.
Very true.
And unless we give them our prayers, they might make mistakes. So you see, prudent that everyone prays for them so that they don't do their work in unexpected direction. So wish them a happy new year and a big responsibility, especially this time. But more especially, I look at the Electoral Commission. Looking forward to the next elections has a lot to do with the Electoral Commission, the leadership and all the people there, and the plans and arrangements they are making. This is very essential, and I believe that they need our prayers. So when I say Happy New Year, it's not only being happy to laugh, but a year of organization and planning and better positioning. But especially the politicians who are looking forward to get into these very serious positions of national leadership, both at national, sub-national level, local and lower local governments, and at all levels of leadership, not only looking at the leadership in terms of the parliament and the district and so on, but also up to the lowest level of councillors and the LOC1 leadership, because all these are doing a great job. Did you know that all of you are councillors in this country?
True.
By virtue of being members of your village, you were a councillor and therefore your executive, the LOC1 executive. So we look up to them. But of course, this doesn't have to do with the people to be elected alone, but also those who are going to elect.
Interesting.
They are very essential. They are very important. Actually, they make a decision of where our country will be tomorrow. I know that everybody is organizing themselves to look for support and so on, like you have mentioned in your opening remarks. And I think these people should be able to look deep inside our hearts and see whether what we say is what we are going to do.
Well, I wanted to cross to Mr. Faisal, but since you've said that, let me shed the spotlight on you, because you're coming for office come 2026.
Correct.
As LC5 chairman, Wakiso district.
Yes, please.
First of all, why did you choose the party NRM?
Party NRM is a long journey.
It is. Let me just phrase it like this, because we have very many parties, as you know, even some upcoming. Recently, we just had a party introduce itself onto us. So why did you decide and say, you know what, I'm going to stick to this party? What is it that drew you to the national resistance movement?
Well, I've been here for some time, and I got the opportunity to see some elections, although I did not have the age to participate directly. But indirectly, I participated as a young boy. That time in 1980, that's when I got involved at a level of, you can say, an assistant secretary to one of the members of parliament. But of course, I had not reached 18 years, so I did not vote. So I saw what happened at that time. Along the period of the war, my family was part of the people who contributed to the peace we are seeing here. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, our house was the first blown house bombarded by the regime that time. In the whole of this war, when it started, they started bombarding with our house, my father's house that time.
Is that a fact, or is it some...
It's a fact. People can go and find out. Here in Masulita, that's where Obote and his team, the former president of Uganda, and his team, that's where they started fighting with the so-called bandits that time, because that's where they had started their journey. And of course, it pushed all my family members into the bush. Surprisingly, that time I was in a secondary school, and I was not able to be part of the team, which was at home. So I remained in the school all my time, and I did not see my family for 5 years. Now, that alone attaches me to the leadership that is going on. But number two, when I became a leader under movement system which was collective. Under the Constitution of Uganda, we provide multi-party dispensation and movement system. Each one can come in as long as a referendum is held, and it allows either a multi-party system or a movement system. So by virtue of the fact that at that time we started with a movement system before we went into multi-party dispensation, I participated in the movement system leadership, and I could see what their main goals and their objectives and their ideology, where they were pointing in terms of developing this country. And when I looked at it, I participated in it, I discovered that if really we continue with this leadership, they were looking forward to the development of not only of Uganda, East Africa, and Africa, and the globe in general. They were trying to show that they were able to do some things much better. And they were able to solve one of our biggest problems that time, and that was security. Insecurity was the highest issue which disturbed most of the leaders that time. So in this line, we are not voting movement, or we are not entering movement as a national resistance movement organization. No, we are entering it because of the leadership that was behind the leadership or behind the National Resistance Movement, movement organization. So what we are looking at that time is not what movement has done, because it had done nothing as a party. But as leaders, the president, in particular President Museveni and his team, they were trying to show that they can lead us into prosperity. Every day they were talking about prosperity, developing our people, improving our road network, looking into issues of education and so on. So by the time we went into this multi-party dispensation after the referendum in 2005, actually we had already seen what had been done by the people behind this party. If President Museveni that time had chosen to go and be in UPC, I'm sure I would have been in UPC.
Oh, so you are supportive of the brains behind NRM?
Because at that time there wasn't anything in particular which was attached to NRM, because we were under a movement system where all leaders that time had come in. The late Sebana Kizito, who was my father, was part of it, but was from DP. Sam Kotesa was from DP. Semogere, the late, my uncle, was from DP. Now, these other people who were involved, there were some UPS people, there were people from other, the CP. So that means everyone was involved in the first government. But the leadership is very important. At one moment, some of these leaders decided to defy and chose to stand. You remember in 1996, the late Semogere chose to stand against President Museveni.
Yeah.
And it all started looking like there is a divide between the present movement system and the former parties were trying to emerge, even when the law had not yet allowed them. And I think that was the beginning of pushing to say, why don't we have these parties? You remember the late Kategaya and Mr. Bidandisali, they were ministers, but they were vying. They were looking for division. They were saying, people looking, after those elections of 1996, it looked like we needed to divide ourselves.
Okay.
And people were pushing that we need our parties. We need them to be active. We need our offices to be active. And I think that was the beginning of this multi-party coming in. So at that time, some of these people started showing they are not with President Museveni, as long as he remains under movement system. So as soon as he decided that we should go for referendum, some of us were adamant about changing the movement system. We are saying, no. We want to remain under movement system. We thought that it was better. We thought that it had issues of individual merit, and that at the end of the day we are going to benefit from each other being part of it. But people are insisting. I remember going to Chankwan's, and the late Kategaya and Mr. Bidandisali stood up and said, you should allow these people to go, and if they want to go, let them go.
Yeah.
And then for us, we can remain.
True.
And at the end of that day, of course, a referendum was held, and there was those division. But later on, we were convinced by the president. He has a good rapport, and he has the best way of handling his issues with his people, and said, you people, if these people don't want to stay with us, why should we force them?
True.
That's when we jumped into agreeing that, okay, there is a house, but there is a tree. So we chose to move on as a party like other people. A referendum was held, and they won. That at the end of that day, we are now under multi-party system, and that's when National Resistance Movement was formed in 2005. Since that time, we have remained with the movement system, with the National Resistance Movement. And the reason we are remaining there is not because there are no mistakes done inside there, but we know very well that even other parties are not safe from mistakes.
Thank you. Talking about other parties, Mr. Mr. Mzee, you
Yes.
are most welcome. And why did you choose to support UPC as a youth, as a member of a society that is ever growing and changing? UPC was a party formed in the 1960s.
Yes.
And if we are to look back at some of the, we saw UPC as a stronghold at some point, yeah. And even in there's a presidential election, I think 2006, where it won 9 seats out of 280 parliamentary seats. UPC had 9 seats. And why did you decide to go with the Uganda People's Congress? Because you would have decided to. Do you support it anyway? Because you are head of communications, but are you a supporter of the party?
I'm not a supporter. I am a member of the Uganda People's Congress. Yes.
Why?
And because of its ideology and values. As I proceed, allow me to shed a light on what
yes, please.
What my colleague here said. It's unfortunate that in most cases, some of our colleagues, they think that Uganda started in 1986. And when they are discussing matters, they don't discuss anything beyond that.
Does anyone think that? Anyway,
Yeah, I've been listening, and we need this country started way back, and we need to appreciate where we've come from as a country. He was talking about the movement system.
Yes.
And President Museveni was among those who were fighting, those who first banned political parties. If you can remember the military decree of 1970s by Amin, he banned political parties. So it took UPC and including the president, the current president, to fight Amin. And when they came back in 1980, where the President Museveni was I think, vice chairman of the military commission. Yes, was the vice chairman of the military commission in 1980. He went into elections under the multipartism. There was DP, there was UPC, there was UPM. His boss's party. So all those political parties were there. Yeah. So again in 1985, the Okellos overthrew the UPC government. And again, we need to clarify that in most cases people think that it was Museveni or NRA that overthrew UPC government. That's not correct.
President Museveni, yes?
Yeah, it was Okellos that removed the UPC government. Again, in 1986, that's where I see the individualism, opportunistic, selfishness, all those things. There was there was legal notice number 1 of 1986 of President Museveni that again banned political parties. So the spirit of the military decree of banning political parties again resurrected in 1986. That military legal notice number 1. So it took UPC to fight for the restoration of multi-party politics.
Okay.
Yes, we participated a lot to restore. And that's why you realize that in 1996 elections, some of our members did not participate. Those who defied, they went on their own. Not until we restored multi-party politics in 2005. Had we gone multi-partyism in 1996, UPC would be very far by now. But it took us a lot, and we had not to bow down. We had to fight on until we achieved. But again, our people, they're not allowing the democratic space to grow. They're not allowing Uganda to grow and enjoy
By
that.
our people, you mean the leadership?
The leadership in government.
Okay.
You see, the spirit of the military decree, the spirit of the Governance number of 1986, and it resulted again in IPOMA, the Public Order and Management Act.
Okay.
Even when they allowed the political parties to go and operate, again it resurrected in that POMA Act of where it's being misinterpreted by police. Police saying that the law says notify police of this meeting that it's a genuine meeting, so that we are aware as security, which is good. But again, they are saying permission. The law does not say permit. To seek for permission. So that's where we are getting. So every now and then we are ring fencing and blocking the space. And again, the other thing we had got. Remember that during the 2016 presidential elections, Amama Mbabas lost elections and petitioned to Supreme Court.
Yes, he did.
He lost the petition, but there are some good recommendations made by the Supreme Court. And up to now, to date, they have never been implemented. For us as political parties, we welcome those recommendations by the Supreme Court. And one of them was to remove the army from politics. And if there is, if there is security agencies or some security forces being used, their role should be well defined clearly. It should be entirely the electoral commission in charge of elections. Can we have that election where the loser will congratulate the winner, so that we don't have this kind of petitions? But you have a parliamentary election, someone is petitioning, the court is saying there was the vote rigging, and there is a by-election because of vote rigging. You get the point? So every election we go, we get these issue scenarios of vote rigging, petitioning, by-election. So when shall we stop? For how long are we going to move on like that as a country? Can we have these recommendations from 2016? We went to 2021, we are not brought to the floor of parliament for implementation. Now we are going for 2025, 2026 general elections. Electoral Commission is saying we are behind the schedule. But where have you been? Have they just heard about this?
So you
get the point.
If UPC was in power, they would have been more prepared.
What?
Because if you say that where have you been, and you're asking
no. My point, you didn't get me well. What I was saying, recently the Commission said that they are behind the schedule to implement the recommended electoral reforms. And we are saying that these electoral reforms were recommended in 2016. We had that 5 years preparation.
Okay.
We had even elections of 2021. Even electoral commission through parliament. I think I attended that meeting where UPC was invited by the Parliamentary Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. We were invited to go and present our proposals. All political parties went. We made our proposals, including the civil society, on top of what the Supreme Court recommended. But they were not implemented. Now here we are. We have been again consulted ahead of 2026. Now, to our disappointment, we are told that it's behind the schedule. Recently, when President Museveni was, they were eulogizing the late Aruna Nyakairima in Munyonyo, I hope you remember that. He said that he got information that they stole 1 million votes. His 1 million votes. I getting the point?
Okay.
Now, and my president, James Meka, said, okay, we have been having this issue of vote rigging. Now I want to challenge them. Let them bring evidence. And the Electoral Commission should also explain how did this happen. Get the point? So for us, what's important now, we don't need to portion blame. It's not time for blaming each and everyone. All of us stakeholders should play our part so that we have free and fair elections. We have a peaceful campaign during, after, and before, during, and after elections. And the other component also is on. You see, there is an amendment in there is organizations, political parties, and organizations Act Amendment Act 2010, Section 14. It provided for funding of political parties, and under that funding, we have it has got two sections. That's Section 4. Section 14 has got two subsections, A and B. One of them says that they will finance political parties based on their numerical strength in parliament, plan their day-to-day affairs at their headquarters. That money comes through Electoral Commission. Again, another section says that there will be equal funding of political parties during general elections. In 2010, so the general elections of 2011, it was never, that money was not ever provided. And the essence was to block the external funding, which can be ill, which can be even negative for the country. All of us will have our country. 2016, that money was never provided. 2011, 2021 was never provided. We are saying, can you now implement that law? Parliament, can you appropriate money? Can you provide for funding of that money? We finance all political parties. We go into elections when we have a level ground. Supposing President Museveni is going to stand for presidential elections, of which they have declared. Now, for me, I'm cognizant that he still remains a president of the country. Now, for him, he has an advantage of using state voting resources because he's a president. Now, these other political parties, they are at a disadvantage. So, can we make a fair ground? Can we implement that section that says that we shall provide funding on equal basis during general elections to finance political party operations? That's one. Then right now, even Electoral Commission, I think there's somewhere where they're not doing well on sensitization and civic education.
Okay.
Can Electoral Commission do that part? Because you might find that they turn up and even people while they are voting, they don't know They turned their leaders to be funeral management affairs. Their leaders, is a leader, I can tell you, instead of concentrating on their work, they are buying ambulances. Our electoral base, they are dragging their leaders away from the original mission. At the end of the day, there are no services. He was talking about the component of the 10-point program. I was listening when he was speaking about. But after about nearly 40 years, it still remains a promise. You can't implement that. And we want to tell the Ugandans that all is not lost. As Uganda People's Congress, we laid the foundation for this country. We ushered in the independence. We led this country. So you see, when you're laying the foundation, it's not that simple. You have to go through a lot. So we laid that foundation. However, we have seen that the core values of our independence have been lost. The direction of us getting independence has been lost. So can we restore it? And we want to tell Ugandans that all is not lost. UPC, we are going to, the party president announced that we are going to be fielding candidates at all elective positions, right from the ground to the presidential position. And our politics is quite different from others. As ours, issue-based politics, is not attacking my elder here. No, I will attack issues. It was an idea with an idea, not person to person. That's our politics. Ours is issue-based politics. And that's why recently, you realize that in the recent by-elections, UPC has beat NRM.
We're going to go for a very short commercial break. We are going to go for a very short commercial break. And I'm still with the honorable gentlemen here who are going to take us through the discussion. Once we get back, there is still a lot of questions to be, deciphered. First of all, where do we see Uganda? What do we expect from these leaders who are coming in? In our last segment of this show, that is what we are going to be looking at. Stay with us. Please remember, we are on social media at COU Family TV, but we're going to take a very, very short commercial break, and then we'll be back. Don't go away.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
You are most welcome back to Issues at Hand. Thank you so much for being a part of Church of Uganda Family TV, and I'll say it again, we really, really do appreciate your presence on air with us, and we do not take it for granted. Remember, we are on social media where you can join the conversation at COU Family TV. That's on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and any other platform you can think about, Threads and all those new ones. And today the discussion is the political fever. What is going on exactly in the political ground? And we want to, if we had time, we would compare this election, this upcoming election, to the previous one. Do we have any changes? We've seen people come up and promise us things. We've seen leaders use the platforms to speak of very, very good ideas. An idea is a good thing, but implementing it is another thing altogether. And I don't know what percentage we have gone implementing these ideas that these people promised us. And so we just want to take a few minutes and look at let me start with Engineer Chaine. You're aspiring for an LC5 chairmanship seat, and maybe they are your constituents, watching and hoping to vote for you. But what is that one thing that you're going to do different from maybe the people who have been in that office? Yes, they have delivered to a certain extent, but I don't believe service delivery in Wakiso district is perfect 100%. So what are you coming with on the table that a person watching you from Wakiso can trust you and say, this one has my vote? What is that stands out?
Well, Wakiso is a bit different. I have quite a lot to comment on from my young brother here from UPC, but just to say one statement, we will resurrect the district from where it was buried. When I was a chairman, it was moving at a terrific speed of development. When someone else came in, he has been doing what he felt he needs to do. My goal is to bring back Wakiso to the heaven, to the top, and complete those programs which we could plan, which we had planned earlier, but also open opportunities for more development in that district. That's all, because people know Ian Cheyune, those who were there when I was working, and they know that I'm a very hard-working person. I have a wonderful plan and program for that district. Some of the things which I must do are already appearing there, waiting for someone to complete them. Unfortunately, the 15 years we have used without my presence have not proved anywhere correct that the people in leadership can do what I was doing. I think they had their agenda.
For example?
If you remember very well, we had started on developing our people, because the purpose of the leader is actually to stand along with the people and change their welfare. That's the main purpose. And we do it through many issues. For instance, through infrastructure, through social services, through their own income, through the environmental development, and through developing the areas or the infrastructure which they need. For instance, when we started, we had to start with the headquarters, because how do you go to meet the leaders or the people you want to talk to when they are under trees? That's where we started. We started under trees, but it was not comfortable. Number two, we went into infrastructure development. We bought a grader, and our aim was to develop into a tarmacking road unit. Unfortunately, we could not continue because our people chose to get other leaders. Thirdly, we had started on developing our people from their family level. We are giving them one animal, a cow. We started with goats. We went into cows. And we had started actually distributing 40, 50 cows per year. Imagine 15 years, how many cows would be in Wakiso if we had continued with this program. And it's there, people know it very well. We had started working on our environment by planting trees. Every child plant a tree. Every baby shower, plant a tree. Every marriage, plant a tree. And we started our nurseries in each and every place. When I left, the one at the headquarters was removed, and even in other places do not have these nurseries. And therefore, we cannot plant trees, we cannot take care of our environment properly. I've heard people talking about, don't do this, don't dump here. But that's not the issue. The issue is, are you trying to maintain what has been there, but are you trying to improve on what they must use? Because people must use wood in one way or another. So you need to plant more trees and so on. So environment. Then thirdly, and most important, our education system. You remember, if you don't know, you were young, but Wachiso district was under PG district. It was among the worst performing districts in education. When I came in as a chairman, I said this should stop. And we rose through up to the time when we became number 1. I cannot tell which number we are. These days they read up to number 10. And Wachiso is not appearing anyway on the list. Is that a sign that they are developing or they are falling off?
But what makes you think that you're going to do this difference, to make this difference again? Because you remember that, I'll give you an example of the two tenures of Dr. Apollo Milton Obote. Very different tenures. That at first, there's ideologies that he had that couldn't work when he came back the second time.
Well, the difference here is that who was there personally developing this district, I'm still alive and safe. That's number 1. And I think even my brain has expanded more. By the time I was there, I had master's degree. Now I have even a PhD. So even my brain has been even more brushed. Number 1. Number 2, the people I worked with, they are still in place. Because politics is not working alone. You have some people to work with. So the leadership which I worked with is still available. And I can continue to work with them, and we do more. Thirdly, even that time I had even less money. I had like 17 billion per annum. Now they are having more than 100 billion, this district. 100 billion. And they are not doing anything better. And most importantly, I'm the father or the mother of that district. I worked together with the leadership that is ongoing, and we got this district. So as a mother, as a parent, you have that inner feeling for your child. So when someone throws him on the street, you cannot leave him there. That's why
guardians will pick him up.
The guardians have tried, but they have failed. This is what has been happening.
Anyway, on the issue.
So now we are getting the opportunity, once again, Cheyune is still alive. And our people in Wachiso, they are saying, why don't we pick the old guard to come back and do something different? But of course, all that is for Wachiso in particular, and I know we'll get time for Wachiso. But on national political issues, you know, my younger brother here is innocent. And I feel sometimes, should I tell him? Should I tell people here? But the truth is, when I hear UPC talking about elections, then I say, these people, all the time they were in power, they never thought of elections. See, from 62, we never got an election.
How did we come in power?
Up to 71.
How did we come in power?
So the elections were held in 1962. They were not in charge, they were not in power, but they benefited.
Is that true?
Now, in 1980, yes, it is true. He knows very well. It is true.
But does he agree with you?
He must.
I'm asking, how did we come in power?
It was an election which was held under the British. And at the end of that day, UPC got an opportunity together with DP and the other parties which were there at that time. So it was not organized by UPC. You can
do better only when you're objective on this issue discussing. You got one vote in 1980. And the option was called the Bush.
What I'm talking about is an election under
UPM. One vote.
An election under UPC.
Talk about election under NRM.
The 1980 elections were also not organized by UPC.
But
they benefited, but after sitting in chair, they parted 1985 before even talking about any other new elections.
What took the Bush after getting one vote?
So when we are talking about...
But is it true that NRM went to the Bush after getting one vote?
UPM got one vote. Am I lying?
Well, as far as I know, Mr. Chionga,
one vote,
was a member of parliament.
UPM, the candidate of UPM.
Mr.
Well,
Mzee,
I cannot
do you
argue.
need, how
As far as
important-
I know, my late father voted for UPM. I know Mzee.
No, let's be honest. UPM got how many votes? One vote, UPM.
Mr.
voted
Mzee,
UPM.
Just, I want
The
to get you.
I'm trying to show
One
you
seat.
the people.
Okay,
you
one
know.
seat. Let me make it like
Gentlemen,
Okay.
I
There
want
is a
to.
difference between a seat and a vote. If you are talking about a seat, there is a difference.
They got one, the entire country got one seat, but I don't want to talk
correct,
about that.
but we are talking about the issue of holding elections.
How important are resources for UPC to?
You see, when I come to that point,
Because they have now-
they went the bush claiming that they were vote rigged in 1980. Fine, whether right or not. But now, after 40 years, you have failed to fight what took you to the bush. Every single election they have organized, there have been the issue of vote rigging on record. You can review
That
the
is why
courts.
I want
Well.
to ask, how important are resources? You mean UPC cannot do anything without resources? Because you said since the ruling party is in power, they do have some money and
No,
all.
we have been in power.
You can't do anything without
we
resources.
can. We have been only if the ground is leveled.
I don't know
And
whether,
then we
I
said,
don't know whether I've been understood properly. I'm talking about the audacity of UPC to talk about elections.
we have.
When they have, for all their time in power, failed to hold even a single election.
Do you have audacity to talk about credible elections after 40 years?
Well,
every now and then there is
what
vote
I
rigging.
know is that the president of UPC is in parliament. His wife, who is a minister, is in parliament. You have mentioned here that UPC of recent has won against NRM and other parties, I believe.
So it's
isn't
not
that
good to be here to
enough
politic.
proof? Isn't that- No.
Honorable, you have been in.
Because,
you have,
because
you
I
have, you
think
have
I
been a
also need
chairperson.
protection. When you are talking, I gave you space. Even when I felt there were some
You
things.
entered in when I was making clarification after being given.
not
But
entered.
I would let, because of
And I
time,
want
I
you
just
to
wanted
give
to
me
get his
the
mind.
piece.
Let me
Because-
clarify on this.
You know, you need to know one thing.
Let me clarify on this.
Facts are facts. So
No,
when NRM is talking about elections, holding elections,
Engineer Chine, just
think-
kindly, I wanted to get his mind
Let
because
me-
he said you have resources. So it would be unfair to let him go without him explaining to us whether UPC as a party cannot do anything minus government resources. Let's say, yes, the constitution actually allows for resources to be distributed, maybe. But do you want to tell me that UPC needs to be in power for it to enforce certain things? Or for it to cause change?
Of course, the best we can do right now as a political party, which is not in government, is to, one, we guide, we advise, and where the government has done well, we compliment or we applaud. That's on record. And if there are certain things in the constitution which are provided for, can we implement, can we follow the law? He was talking about the elections. Recently, when there was a by-election in Uganda, President Museveni himself wrote a letter condemning and even the electing for the arrest of all those who involved in the vote rigging of that election in where? In the Uganda. It was a by-election of chairman of LC5. And the records are there in court. Declaring by-elections in different constituencies and districts because of vote rigging. Even when we won here in 2023 in Oyam North by-election, after the death of the minister, may he so rest in peace. Even President Museveni told them there was a lot of issues, and they told them if you just go to court.
I think that's enough. Proof
Enough. No.
It is not part of our policy. It's not part of our ideology.
Why have you failed to fight?
Individuals can go into those malpractices.
How
and you have
about
seen
the
that
army?
the arm of the law
How about
has
the army?
come out. Where the army is involved,
Yes.
it is another issue which is also handled separately.
I think we need a collective effort to fight this issue.
I think what we should know,
Yes.
to begin with, is that we cannot stop mistakes being made. It's like we cannot stop people committing suicide. But when they do, we need to find out what is causing this. We cannot stop people fighting in their homes. But we are saying, when you fight, how far do you go? What happens?
Do you still want enough?
The longer
Do you
arm
still
of
want
the
enough
law at all times has come up and said, yes, there was some rigging in this area, and therefore there must be a re-election.
Do you need more time after 40 years?
No, we don't need time. Even you, when you enter into power, automatically you will not be working in people's minds until when you know what they have done.
These are schematic things, obvious.
What we are talking
about,
the
law.
Okay, can I say something and
Yes.
you give me space? What I know that this country has been organized under a very well articulated system in line with the laws against each mistake you make. The disciplining system has been put in place. The laws are there. The courts are there. And all people who are responsible have been put in place, like the IGG, the people responsible for the Auditor Generals and so on. So any challenge we are facing as a government because of individual problems are also handled at different levels. And this is what a government should do, to put in place a system that if they are rigging, what happens? You don't just keep quiet and say there was rigging and you go away. People go to court, they prove that there was rigging, and then the government allows the court to make their judgment. At the end of the day, an election is held again, and you know the government is footing a bill, but those who have won, they go on and celebrate. That's why in this country the government is not led by only movement or NRM people, but also other members of parliament from other parties are there, and they are happy that they won. Where they have been able to identify challenges, they have been worked on. But the most important thing is now the election laws or guidelines. I think right now we cannot only blame the government of Uganda, because people are in parliament, like his president and the other people. They are in parliament and they are allowed individual members' bill.
Okay.
A private member's bill can be brought by the same people and say, we need these electoral reforms. I'm hearing of electoral reforms by Mr. Mpuga coming on board. That's what we expect, that when the government is sleeping on something or busy organizing other issues, then this private members' bill can come on board and push what they think has a challenge. Because you know, the pain is different.
We have 5 minutes to end the show.
Now,
I want to bring
my thinking is that
Let's maybe give some time. Yes, we're coming back, but
Yeah.
let's hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, maybe what I can bring to my colleagues' attention, that much as you allow the private members' bill, there is still a limit. It has to go through parliament and majority vote. And at the end of the day, if NRM does not want it, trust me or not, it will not pass.
But that's a presumption.
No, let me make my point.
Brought by
You're responding on a preamble. Let me make my point. What we need to do as a country is to ensure that we empower our institutions. Can the executive do what it's meant to do and respect it? Can parliament be allowed to do what it's meant to do? Can judiciary be allowed to do what it's meant to do without arresting people at its premises, after being released? And I'm not talking about only arrest, but everything. IGG.
And those are independent bodies.
Yes, but are they independent in reality?
Yes.
They are not.
Why do you
They
say
are not
that?
independent in reality.
They are very independent.
If someone is being released at the premise of the court and is, again being arrested there and then, are you independent?
But the release
so
was
what
allowed.
we need to do,
you know, some of these cases you cannot understand them until they are done.
It's very difficult for you to defend the undefendables. Very difficult job you have right now here. But as UPC,
Who are the undefendable?
those things are undefendable, and he has a difficult job.
No, it's not difficult.
What we need to do as a country,
someone is again apprehended,
what we need to do as a country,
again produced in courts of law,
all of us,
the issues
But you
abroad,
told him
then
to
there are no
give his
problems.
space.
all of us, we need to have the goodwill, and that goodwill should start with the high authority, the president and all the institutions. The goodwill to do things. Even leaders, even when you're chairman, you have to have the goodwill to serve for the people. And we need to stop that tendency of politicking, even when it's not time for politicking. And as a party, as we head for 2025
I'm afraid
2026
politics
general elections,
but we have 2 minutes, so
Yeah.
these are the last remarks.
yes, my last remarks that as UPC internal processes, we are registration of members ongoing, and all upon members register. We are going to have to renew our structures. We go through the election of leaders in the party. Then from there we shall be processing the party candidates who shall carry the UPC flag in the 2025-2026 elections. But we call upon them to go and register, because the election starts now by registration. If you're not a registered voter, you want to be able to stand as a candidate, and you want to be able to vote your desired leader.
Okay.
So let's all endeavor. Let us take it with the utmost attention. We go and register as voters. And to Ugandans, let us all be peaceful, and to all stakeholders, let us do our responsibility. It's not only for electoral commission, it's not for government or police, but all of us. Can we do our part and stand accounted? I mean, we stand to be counted. So that's what it takes. And as we leave, I want to thank the management for giving us this opportunity, and of course bringing the greetings once again from the party president, Hoji McKenna. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chenge, your last words to the people that are watching.
I think my last word is that don't lose hope. Everyone would wish to be in your position as a party of NRM. And as a party in charge of this country, we take the responsibility to make sure all what he's talking about is achieved. Because we need to give them security, and we will. And we have been doing so. We need to give them space to do their work. Even when they are talking about the Public Order Management Bill, Act, but we still continue to work within the system to allow them to do what they are doing. I think we had challenges of COVID-19, and people thought that they are ones which are flowing. But as you have seen, all those parties which needed to meet their people during this period, they have managed. Those who had not done their work properly with the police and other responsible security bodies went and they reconciled, and they continued with their work. I'm happy to hear that other parties are also doing what we have been doing. You know very well that NRM registered over 15 million people within its party, and we are right now going through our registers district by district to make sure that everybody is properly registered, so that at the time of voting internally, we have people who are going to vote and they are already registered. So I can see a big improvement in our political lineage in line with the next election. What I can say is that you, the people of Uganda, you just need to continue to be sober and look up to a better Uganda by continuing to give power to those who have showed you what they can afford.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being a part of this show. We hope to see you again, because the season is just starting. And to our viewer, thank you so much for being a part of Church of Uganda Family TV. I wish I could add more. I wish we'd have more time, but this is all we had for you today. Please make sure that as you get into that ballot box come 2026, that you tick a person that you are sure will bring, above all, service delivery, bring services closer to you, but also care for your needs. Don't just choose a person because they are beautiful, they are handsome, they are old, or they are young. What can they bring to the table is what matters. And so from myself and the production crew here at Church of Uganda Family TV, good morning family, particularly issues at hand. It's a good morning.